Hello and welcome to the moon! This is my full assembly video from start to finish for the To the Moon puzzle box. I will be building it in 150% size. Leave a like, hit subscribe, like the thing on Thingiverse, that's the best way for me to spread the word. Settle in, we've got a lot to get through, let's get started. Part 1, we're gonna get the base ready, and this is the base _ M part. I'm going to do a few repairs. As you can see, this part didn't print correctly. It's supposed to look like this. It has these little tabs in it, and this tab got messed up during the print, so I'm going to fix that. And then another thing I want to point out is I get a little bit of stringing sometimes by these locks. I don't know if you can see the strings floating around in there, but I like using a torch, something like this. This is just a butane torch, and I hit those strings and they go away, and then sometimes you get just like a little bit of melted plastic and you kind of press it against the part and it's clean. The second thing I'm going to clean up is, like I said, this bad tab. So I like to take a torch, heat it up just a little bit so the plastic is a tiny bit soft, and remove the misprinted part. It's pretty much a clean tab. This is a common issue with the design, just because the tabs have such small amounts of surface area. And then I take this 3D print pen, load any color of regular filament you want in there, and then it's a fairly easy type of repair. Hope you can kind of see that. Pretty quick, just deposit. You can slow down and speed up this as well. I just deposit a little bit, make sure it's flat. Push from the back side to make sure the tab hasn't gone away, and that's it. That's good enough to hold a rubber band on. Just completing the tab, and whoever's getting serial number 31, sorry about the not super clean tab. It's got a little string. I'm just gonna hit it with the torch, and we're all clean. Okay. In this first group, we have 7 parts. We have the base. This is the 4 spring and the 6 spring. This is the puzzle brake. Over here we have the T6 222 for the key. And then we have the T7 launch and the T7 heist. And the launch has this moon pattern on the back, and the heist is smooth on the back. So, we're going to start by installing rubber bands as well. And the first thing we're going to do, step 1 of assembly, is put a rubber band on the puzzle. That's this side with the funny springs. There's a little runway shape that allows you to just drop a rubber band right in. And I really like these Amelia rubber bands. They say they're 12 millimeter, but they're more like 11 or 10 millimeter. They're thick, about 1 millimeter thick. And if you're printing in 150% size, this is the brand and the type I recommend going with. I've tried others that are like pretty skinny, and they don't stretch as well. These are super thin. And then I've also bought more industrial ones, but I was not impressed with the consistency, and there's actually a few broken ones in the package. So for the most part, I use these Amelia brand rubber bands. Alright, we'll work our way around the puzzle. So the first side we're going to go to is the one next to the sort of lock garden, and that is the key. So we're going to find the T6 222. That's the one with the squiggle springs. We're going to slide a rubber band through the bottom. See that you poke it through and hook it on the hook. Just like that. And then we're going to slide our T6 222 in this way so that the pin is facing outwards. And it'll slide into its grooves. I'm going to pull the rubber band, drop the T6 222 in,
let that rubber band latch on the back. You can see the rubber band is latched on that peg there. I don't know if you can see that well. That's kind of what it looks like from the bottom. See how the rubber band is through the part? And then you can push this all the way down until it's flush against the bottom. Nicely done. We're going to repeat this with our next 2 springs. So we'll work our way around the side next to the money vault as I'm putting the rubber band again through the bottom. This is the heist side. That's the T7 222 with a smooth back, or the T7 with a smooth back. And I'm going to brush a little coconut oil on. And I know this is a little unusual, but it keeps these springs quiet. So I put a little at the back here, so when it slides in, that'll not make a lot of noise. I put a little around the springs so that they don't slide, and then I just brush a little on the bottom. And this is, I use an old toothbrush head from an electric toothbrush that doesn't work anymore. A little coconut oil just quiets down the plastic on plastic rubbing sounds. That's pretty quiet now, compared to this, which has no coconut oil. No coconut oil. Coconut oil. Same spring, same design, completely quiet, and I just like using it. It makes it feel better, it uses a little less force. Then we're going to drop this in and loop that rubber band again, just on the back. You can almost just drop it and let it go and it'll fall into place. Slide it all the way down. Make sure that rubber band is looped around. You can kind of see it from the bottom. Alright, and the last side is the launch side. Same concept. Push our rubber band through the pin on the bottom. I'm going to put a little coconut oil on the spring here. There. Do it there. I do it there. Kind of where the plastic on plastic rubs, and then I try to get the bottom a little bit, because it also is rubbing on plastic. Grab my rubber band, drop it down, attach my rubber band on, and now all 3 of those are pretty much held in place. And we have all 4 rubber bands on the bottom. Next is the puzzle lock. I can't see my coconut oil. I just keep it in a little jar. I put a lot of coconut oil on the outside of the puzzle lock. I don't put any in the keyhole because you know, you don't want to get the part dirty that somebody's hand is going to touch, but it's nice to put some on this rounded part that all slides in this groove as well. And that drops right in here by the lock garden. And it kind of goes in this little groove. And once it's in, it kind of rotates like that. Just that much. We are going to put another rubber band there. And the rubber band I'm going to use is just a different color, because this same Amelia brand rubber bands are slightly different sizes, and this one's a little bit smaller, so on the customer puzzle boxes I use this little bit smaller rubber band, but any rubber band is really okay, and that should allow that piece to fall forward. And that's going to be the break for one of the puzzles, I call it. Alright, the last 2 springs we're going to put in are the 4 spring and the 6 spring. These fit in slots on the puzzle side, which has these kind of unique looking springs built into the base. The 4 spring goes on the left if you're facing the front of the puzzle box. This is the left side. That's where the blue one goes. And in both cases, the spring is going to go facing backwards. So like the smooth part is on the front of the puzzle box, and then the tab is a little further into the center, towards the center. And then over here, it'll be the same. The smooth part is facing the outside of the puzzle box, So they'll go like this in. And these just set in. It'll be a really tight fit. This is a press fit part, 0 tolerance in one of the directions. And I use just a needle nose pliers or a screwdriver or something to push down. And it kind of snaps into place like that. Same with the 6 spring. Put it in its hole. Like that. And then press down on the base, and it should go down until it's pretty much flush. Same with that 6 spring, or the 4 spring, I mean, pretty much flush on the bottom. And if ever you need to get these out, again, if you're repairing something, I have holes in the bottom, and that's so you can just take a I don't have anything here to take anything that'll poke, and you can push it through from the bottom and you'll pop the spring out. So they're still removable even though they're a press fit part. Alright, this concludes the base. Nicely done if you've made it this far. This is some of the hardest parts, so it'll get more fun from here. Up next is we're gonna assemble the parts for the key. That's the side with this squiggle spring. It's also got the brickwork on the sides. The parts I have here are the shooting star, the key back. This is the key part H1. It's got a H1 on it. It also has BA written on the other side. We have the H2. And this is the H2R remixed for the remix. And the key. What is this called? The key face? Yeah, key face _ R. And we're going to be working on this side. So the first thing I do is prepare the shooting star, which will fit on the key back like this. I again do put coconut oil all over this part, because a lot of plastic sliding and it helps keep it quiet. That'll fit right on the key back. Then this is another rubber band spot. If you have multiple sizes of rubber band, I recommend a small one here. Slide it through the shooting star. Sorry, I'm watching the camera and I should be watching what I'm actually doing. Goes through here from the front. It's a little tricky. And then in the back, once you get a hold of it, it just pulls down into this groove. Like that. So when it slides up, it wants to slide back down. Next, you're going to take your H1 and these 2 club pieces sort of line up. Like that. So when you hold it, it all sits kind of tight. You kind of have to hold it all as a group, and then you have to put it through this, the H2 222. And I've got a little gunk there from the print. I'm just gonna heat it up, squish it at the top so it's a little smoother, and then put our assembly together like this. So you just put that H2 through the hole. And this whole thing drops in as one big group directly down into the key. And there's a lot of little parts you gotta line up. See, this isn't lined. Push it in, and then it all pushes down at the same time together. It all goes right down into the hole. The H2's got to be pushed all the way down, and the H1 should be flush against the bottom of this brick. And then the key back should be flush with the top of that T6 222. Next, we'll add a couple more rubber bands. The rubber bands overall are just redundant for springs already in the system. It'll just help your puzzle last longer, work well longer. It allows you to store it in the unsolved and locked position without the springs wearing out, because the plastic kind of does wear out a little over time. So I put one rubber band, I should use a different color, around this little racetrack shape. It's a blue rubber band. That was a poor choice, but you can see it snaps in down there. And the second rubber band is going to loop these two together. And I probably should have done that first, because it's a little easier that way. But if you put it around that H2 and then loop it around the H1, you're good to go. And that helps this H2 spring, just a little support. And then you have the key face. That slides over the front. You have to push this in to get it to slide all the way down. And then you're almost done with the key. There is just one more spot, or one more piece that I think I'm going to save until later, because I actually glue it on. Again, using the 3D pen, I glue the end onto that little stick. But we're going to leave that for now. I will circle back. So we're done with the key for now, and moving on to part 2, which is going to be the launch, which is the side with the rocket. Alright, now we've got all the pieces we need to do the launch side of the puzzle box. I'm going to go through these. This is the button spring. This is RLB. You can see these all have, come on, focus. RLB, these all have the names written inside, RLM and RLT. So these three pieces. I have our 3 wheels, wheel 1, wheel 2, wheel 3. The NASA face, the keyhole, which is the part that has a little smiley face on it. Again, come on, focus. There we go. I don't know if you can see that smiley face. It's a pretty matte filament. Then we have part B, which is noted with a little B on top of it. And this is the rocket cutout shape. The launch spring, and the launch button, which has the alien on it. We're going to build 3 mini assemblies and then put them all together. The first one is the keyhole with face. So I put a little coconut oil just on the outside, which helps slide it in. You don't have to. Oh, see, I got a little stringing in here. You can see that. Takes care of it nice. All right. This is in the back. The back side has the texture. The front side is flat. So on the back, you're going to pop this in. I pop it in sideways and then kind of rotate it and sort of move it around to get it a little loose. Nice. Should look like that when you're done. I'm going to set that down. Next, just because it's satisfying, we're going to stack these. Start with the RLB. That's the one with the long center peg. If you got some stringing, helps to clear that out. I do quite a bit of coconut oil on here, especially here on this little springed part. A little coconut oil here helps those wheels rotate nice. So we're going to start with wheel 1. You're going to put this on face down, just like that. And now this wheel can rotate. That's what it looks like from the front and the side. Next, we're going to take RLM and slide that on top. Again, I hit that one part with a little coconut oil, the whole thing with the coconut oil. And then the white wheel 2. Coconut oil on top. Then RLT, the final one in the group, and that coconut oil, and the red wheel 3. Oops. Excellent. That's our little combo. We can set that aside. And the final little assembly is with these 3. So I like to put the launch spring through part B first. You can see we have this little house shape, and that'll align with our launch spring, like this. You can probably see better from the bottom. House shape, house shape. Push this through. It's a press fit connection again. I use a needle nose pliers for this. Oh, this one's real tight. Get it? It should be about flush on the bottom. See how that went all the way through? Very nice. Sometimes you can glue this if you want to, if it seems loose. Using that 3D pen of yours to glue a little bit down there would be a great choice. It's not going to interfere with anything else. I've also been just testing this. I smooth out this end of the launch spring, just like that. I just cut away a little bit of the corner. And the benefit of that is I think it makes the thing not get stuck as easily when you're launching. See how it likes to stick? Smoothing that out helps it not stick down. Alright. Next, put a lot of coconut oil down here, especially around where that launch button is going to go. And slide the launch button on the two little grooves through the hole, like that. And sometimes my corner is sharp, so I just cut a little bit off the corner. Nice, and then down here I cut a little as well. This is a recent thing. I might change the file so that you guys don't have to do that in the future, but it seems like that also helps it not get stuck. I'm still sort of experimenting as I go. Still on box 31 with different techniques just to make it feel better for the solver, because I do solve them all after I build them. Alright, and this assembly also needs a rubber band. The rubber band loops between here on part B and here on the launch spring. And it should be a little bit obvious in person sort of where that rubber band sits. And again, I'm staring at the camera, so I'm not watching by hands. See there? And then it loops around the top part of part B. Sometimes I heat up this and I bend it forwards a little bit as well. You can do that if you want. I'll put it together, test it, see how it goes first. Okay, now we have our three little assemblies for the launch side of our To the Moon puzzle box. The first thing we're going to do is drop in our face piece. That'll go on the front. And then for the keyhole, we're going to make sure that tab is on top of the T7, and there's like a groove in the side here. There's like a square cutout. That's where it sits. Put it in the bottom and then kind of snap in the top. So take our face, slide our face down, and then that keyhole goes in the groove on the bottom. Make sure this tab is on top of the T7 though when you drop it down. There we go. Put it in the bottom of its groove. And then push that top tight. And it'll sit pretty flush in there. Sorry for the wonderful camera work. And to push this all the way down, you may have to push in that T7 a little bit. And I don't put coconut oil on the front because I don't want it to get on people's fingers as they're solving the puzzle. Okay, tab on top, this in the hole, we're ready to move on. Next we're going to drop in our rocket button from the right side. And again, it slides into these grooves here. That's sort of the theme, they slide in these 45 angle grooves. And that'll go all the way down until this is flush at the bottom. Great. Next we'll take our button spring and we're gonna set it like this down in the puzzle, and it'll fit right in the groove down here. So this will go in its slot. I'm gonna have to compress the spring a little bit or push the button out. Push it all the way down and then get it to go into its hole. Hang on a second. Push it down and get that square into its hole. There we go. Hope that makes sense. Then you can push the button and it'll spring back. And this should be flush. There should be no, shouldn't go up at all at any point. Finally, we'll drop in our RLT, RLM, RLB parts right on top of that launch button. See how nicely that slides in there? Boom, all together. Very, very good. All right, for now, the launch side is done, and we are gonna move on to the puzzle side, which is this. So we need our next set of parts. All right, perfect. Here we have the pieces for the puzzle side of the puzzle box. These are pieces 1 through 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8. 8 is the tall one. Then we have this, which I believe is called lock support. Then we have the wheel lock. This is the one for 150% size prints. So if you're printing it in 100% size, there's a different file. It just keeps the fins thin no matter what size you end up printing. So it's not too much spring pressure if you print in a larger size. Then we have the inner wheel and the outer wheel. Outer wheel says Leisure Luke on it. And the inner wheel has images of puzzle pieces. Okay. To start, we're going to assemble this puzzle with these 9 pieces. And some pieces, I start with this, and the first thing I do is build a U shape. So we want to build the shape like this. Some pieces slide through the back and others go in on the front. So it's a bit of a puzzle to assemble it. Okay. So this is our U shape. This is what we want to start with. While I'm assembling this, I also rub these pieces together a little bit. Like this. Just enough to knock any burrs off. These are pretty sensitive. The springs aren't that strong, so I try to reduce friction as much as possible. I know that's probably annoying to listen to, but it's good. The more you work this area, the nicer it'll feel. So we've got our U built. I'm also gonna dab on some coconut oil because I forgot to. So if you're adding coconut oil, just stay away from, again, the faces where like a person would be touching, because it's not fun to get oil on your hands when you're working with plastic pieces. But kind of where the pieces are gonna slide against each other, that's where I apply the coconut oil. Maybe like just the back half of the interlocking parts. I don't know if you can kind of see where I've applied that coconut oil, like the back half, not anywhere in the front, just in the back. And I just apply it on one of the faces, slide the next piece on, apply it on those faces. Again, totally optional, but I think the coconut oil really does make a difference here. Okay, you're gonna find your inner wheel, and there's gonna be a part with an arrow on the top. We're going to keep that in our 12 o'clock position for the duration of this installation, if we can help it. I put a little coconut oil on the inside just to help everything stay lickety smooth. Then we have our wheel lock, and where we have this little notch in the wheel lock, I don't know if you can see it, this side has just a little triangle cutout. We're going to put that in about the 11 o'clock position. So this is around 12 o'clock, and the notched side of the wheel lock, which is on the 11 o'clock. Then we're going to drop it straight down into our U shape, like that. And the pieces just kind of, they just go out of the way enough for that to slide in there. Next, we want to slide in our 5-piece. And this is sort of a one-time press fit. So make sure your inner wheel is good and you've got your pieces coconut oiled like you want. Then you're going to slide this red piece right into the middle. Like that. And it'll slide into that groove. It's got a groove that'll line up with that notch on the wheel lock. And it's a little hard to see back there, but once you line it up, you should be able to squeeze it right on and it should go flush. And at this point, none of these pieces will fall apart from each other. Okay. Next, we'll take the outer wheel, and if you're doing the coconut oil, bottom half, both sides, kind of like this. Think this circle. Nobody touches there. Nobody puts their fingers in there, but it's a lot of sliding surface to surface space. Slide the piece 8 all the way back. Push this backwards so you have a little gap opening, and then that's where the outer wheel will slide into. And I'm looking at the camera. The outer wheel slides onto that, and then it'll slide forward over the wheel lock, so it's flush in the back. Now you can slide that piece 8 wherever you want, but you want that wheel lock to be flush. Should be a little loose until that piece 8 comes forward. All right. So this, once you've got this assembled like that, it's flush, then you can add your lock support piece, which just slides into that square. And if you've got piece 5 in, then that'll already be aligned. You don't have to rotate that at all. And this will hold everything together. We're going to add piece 2 at the very end, because it's a little different kind of piece. Okay, now we need to drop this assembly into our frame. And we've got 5 pegs that will poke it. 1 here, 3 on the bottom, and 1 on the right. So all these holes are going to get filled with those 5 pegs. So we have to clear these to the side slightly to be able to drop this down. And be careful when you flip this over not to let the key or the heist parts fall out. But from the bottom, we're going to make sure we align our springs. Push those down to the holes. This is a pain. Perhaps this one should have been done first. Alright, we got the first one. The first one's always the hardest. We got those 2, all 3 are flush. Now we go to the sides. Push this in until it aligns with the hole. And that should just push right in. Over here to the hole. And it should be pretty much aligned just by pushing that piece down. Everything's going to feel a little loose and a little awkward, and for now that's okay. We don't have the lid on, everything is tight. Putting that lid on makes a big difference from like a quality perspective, how everything feels, of course. And then the red spring here is just a little tighter for me. Push that in straight from the side, and that'll be pretty much flush when you get it in. So this is pushed in all the way, and all 3 of these at the bottom, whoops, pushed in. All right. That, if you've made it this far, that's the hardest part. Double check that your lock support pieces are in the grooves still. Sometimes it's easy for that to be behind or in front of the grooves. Make sure it's in the grooves. Give it a nice squeeze. Make sure it's all together. Then we can throw our two-piece in, which one side is flat and the other side is at an angle. You want to put the angle one in so the flat side sticks out. So this is flush at the finish. And if the blue piece is sticking out more or less, that's totally fine. Just leave it. It's good. It's good as it is. All right. Now for the heist side, which is the final side of the puzzle before we put the lid on. So we need the pieces for the heist. All right, here are the pieces for the heist. We have the vault door, pins 2 and 3, pins 1. We have the dial. This is the bolt and the gold. Over here we have the, what is this called? The clip spring. Sorry, this is the clip spring. And then we have the pin clip V2. I grabbed the tool just because it belongs to this puzzle. So this is the tool. This is the barrel pin, and the barrel spring. Over here we have the lower bolt clamp. That's the one with the extra things sticking out of it. And the upper bolt clamp, which is a very small piece. This is the safe bar. Then we have the spacer and the door button. The color, of course, doesn't really matter on anything, just so you know. All right, let's begin with the vault door. This, again, will be a few mini assemblies that all come together in the end. First thing you're going to do is look at the back side of it. Put the dial upside down. It only fits through one way, just like that. I have already put coconut oil on the mating surface here and on the sides of the pin slots here. So once you get that dial, just give it a couple of spins. Seems to help kind of just knock off any burrs so it feels good. That is held in with these pins. So I'm going to put pin 1 in first. The order doesn't matter. I will say, if you have a little bit of elephant's foot, which means when you printed this, the bottom surface has like a little flare on the side, shave that down. It matters here. These need to operate with pretty low friction. So make sure that your elephant's foot is taken care of here, and same at the top of the vault door. If you've got a little bit of flare from the elephant's foot from your print, then clean that up with a razor or something. All right. I put the little stick, whichever side you do first, just put it into the piece so it's out of the way. And then you can install the other pins, in this case at 2 and 3. And they all just kind of snap down into their holes. Pretty much flush. Then take this safe bar and line it up with the holes. Give it a nice hard push. And that's a press fit part. And these should all still wiggle pretty easily up and down. Very nice. If you want, you can put the tool in there. We are done with this part of the assembly for now. Just set it to the side. Alright, working from the bottom up, we're going to take our barrel and slide on the barrel pin so that the part that sticks out here, when you slide it on, is going towards the center of the barrel. And that kind of only slides onto, oops, focus. It just slides in its hole. And this little shelf that sticks out towards the middle, slide it all the way in so it's flush.
Then put on your barrel spring. Same attachment shape. Sort of holds it at a 45-degree angle, like that. Alright, then grab your lower bolt clamp. That's the one with the nub sticking out, and that's going to hold the rubber band. We're going to put our rubber band on that. I'm going to use, I guess I like the blue one for this. Just like that. And slide your barrel, that's why it's got this cut in it, is because that's where the rubber band goes. And I'm going to put a little coconut oil just on the edge here to help that spin in the future. It kind of slides in there. And then this whole assembly will drop in on both sides of the heist side. Again, the heist side is the one with the dots. It's got the dots down one side and a rotational thing for the vault door to slide on eventually on the other. Great. Next, we're gonna get our bolt and our gold ready. And check to see if you have any burrs around this, because this all has to slide pretty well in this area. And I've got a couple little burrs I'm seeing, so I'm just going to clean them up. Depends how you have your parts laid out on your print bed and how good your printer is. If you have a Prusa, fast forward the next 10 seconds while I clean this up a little bit. Put a little coconut oil on here. And we're going to screw it into the gold, which is a little awkward because you want to screw it in like this, but it actually screws in like this. So you want to go in like that, but it's flat. So you got to kind of get it started sideways. It feels like you're cross-threading it at first, but then it'll go on nice. And I kind of squeeze the gold and screw the bolt all the way through. And what that does is just helps knock all those little burrs, again, off the inside. And with that coconut oil, it slides pretty nice. This should be almost frictionless. I'm gonna throw a little oil around the outside here. Again, not where the person touches, but just inside of that. I suppose that's hard to judge at this point. And that sits right on top. That'll sit right in the groove. Excellent. Now we can put on our upper bolt clamp. So this has just a little, it's not quite symmetrical. It's got one side that extrudes just slightly. That's going to be inside the puzzle box facing the gold piece. And it'll slide right down like that. And you may push it down and it'll pop up a little bit. Right now it just, see how it does that? That's okay. That's just because of the way the springs are, but that'll get handled. Okay, next we have this piece, this peculiar little spring with my logo in it. I think it's cool. We're going to throw a rubber band in there. That's what these little tracks are for. So I'm going to use, this is one of the rare times I do like the black rubber band because it's heavy duty. And it doesn't stretch very far, but that's okay. There's not much to stretch. So I slid it over this. You can push this through, and I put it right around that in the middle. Got my rubber band onto the back of the L, and then it just sits in the grooves, and you just wrap it right around. Grooved in the back. So you can see a little here, but it sits in those tracks once it's installed. Then snap on the pin clip V2, and this is going to be a tight fit, but it'll fit on that shape just like this. And if you have to shave down a little bit, that's okay. I get it. I do that too. You know, just to make it a nice fit. There's not a lot of pressure here during the puzzle, but you don't want it to be able to slide right off. And this is a good spot to glue if you're gluing. If you've got your handy dandy 3D print pen, you can glue a little spot on there. Make sure to push it down so it's flush, but that's good to go. And that drops in right in the back.
so that the red clip is on the left, opposite the gold. Maybe from the front, it's easier to see. This goes in like that. And again, the spring is holding everything up right now. That's okay. All right. Next piece is, oh, you know what? There is one more thing I'm going to say. The pin, this has to go inside of the pin clip. So you may have to pull out on this pin clip slightly and then push it down. So originally when I stuck it on, it was on top. You just gotta get it to snap down like that. And just pull it to the left if you have to. Okay. Now we can add the spacer. Put a little coconut oil just right here. Specifically right in between here so that this doesn't make noise. Otherwise it goes squeak, 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 squeak. So, spacer goes right on top. In the grooves in the side. Second to last part is this door button, which may not be this exactly the same colors as this. This sort of rests on top here, and it's sort of on this side, on the right. I don't know how to describe it. I guess it just fits in there like that. So the only groove that's really lined up is this one on the left, and the rest of it just sits on top of that space bar. And you know what? This is one of those spots I put a little coconut oil on the spring in the back as well. Just because it's plastic on plastic sliding parts. I like it to be quieter. But I wouldn't put it anywhere near the button on this side because they do touch this and these. And we'll slide on the door, which just goes on from the top. Like that. So all these pieces are going to be kind of held down with the lid. But that's about what it should look like. Make sure, again, double check that all your things are flush and in the same slot. And we are well on our way for our last couple of things. So I'm going to need a cap spade and the orbit table, and I'm going to grab the lid as well, which will be our almost our last parts besides the screws. So very exciting. All right, this is our cap spade piece. It's got the spade on it. We're going to put this in first. This goes on the key side. The other pieces I grabbed are the orbit table and the lid, obviously. This one is a special to the moon lid. This is a filament with a little bit of metal flake in it. And then obviously I layered it red underneath. Kind of cool. Lucky number, serial number 31 gets the tricolor lid. I like it. Anyway, cap spade. That slides on from the side onto this H1. So I'm gonna try to get a little bit closer up here. There's our H1 piece, this cap spade. You gotta slide down from the top through that groove, and then it sort of presses onto the H1. You gotta wiggle it on a little bit. This will be held on in the puzzle by the lid, but I also glue it, and I glue it, of course, with my trusty dusty, is it Mint? Is that the brand of this 3D print pen? Which it is handy. It's like welding. It's the best sort of gluing you can do with this sort of a thing. Just right from the side. I'll try to show you up close what that looks like. It's not the cleanest job in the world. See how that's in there in the groove? I just go around and weld it and put this molten plastic right in there to fill up the space. And that's a pretty serious weld between the two parts. It kind of melts those pieces as you put it on. as well as melting the plastic itself. And then I just push on it so it's smooth. Once it cools down enough to touch, it's still pretty malleable. I hope you can kind of see that. Yeah, just as a pretty flush finish. And now the H1 and the cap spade are like welded together. If you go to take this apart, I just would break it and print these both again. So that's the bummer side of gluing, but it's it makes the feeling of that button nice. Otherwise, it's kind of loose in there and it's a little annoying. Obviously optional. Next, we're gonna load the orbit table. So I put my coconut oil on the lid. Put a little coconut oil all over this orbit table. This is a high friction part that gets annoying, so the coconut oil here is nice to have. It also doesn't touch anything that the people use. Kind of slides in sideways, and then you can rotate it. And eventually we're gonna want the teeth facing the interior. And this is gonna be tricky to align. From the top, obviously you're gonna want these aligned, the holes aligned. See when it's misaligned or correctly aligned. Misaligned, correctly aligned. And then in the back here, you should just be able to see the little cutout. That's how you know you got it right. When this is all aligned and you can see just a little hole in the back, then it's in the right spot. And this is ready to be installed on the base. And it does drop vertically in, but it is a tight fit, and you will have to work for a minute. So I hold this orbit table on in the position that it's supposed to be in. First thing you want to do is line up the long side with this hole on the bottom, which is kind of next to the rocket button. So that's the first thing you're going to align. The second thing you're going to align is the puzzle. Sometimes the pieces have to get pushed in. And it's okay to put pressure on this and get the sides of these pieces flush. Then the orbit table has to fit in the grooves of the shooting star. So if you're holding it in the right spot, double check and slide that down kind of onto where the shooting star is. Make sure that all clears. And then you're gonna have to make sure that vault door button is lined up. That pin drops in the door there. And once you've got that all lined up, everything else kind of snaps into place. You can just give it all a nice squeeze top to bottom. You might have to push in here to get the snap down. Same with this, you might have to push just a little bit to get it all to snap. This one's coming together nice. I have not assembled this before. This is a part of the lid, the gray thing. So the two piece has to get pushed in a little bit. There's a hole at the top. That aligns. This sometimes has to get pushed in, or the face needs to get pushed in. Sometimes the button has to get pushed in so the face can drop, so the lid can snap down. Make sure that you don't have gaps here anymore. These are, of course, a few separate pieces. Just make sure there are no gaps. It should feel easy to push with your door open. You should be able to push this and it should bounce back smoothly and loosely. All right. Well, the last step is the most satisfying step, and that is the screws. So, nice. All right, these are the screws. We have the long screw and the short screw. We're gonna need one of the long and 3 of the shorts. I also grabbed our hex bolt. What do I call this? Hex screw? Hex something? One of these. This will go on the bottom at the end as well. So from the top, by the money bag, that's where the long screw goes. And then 2 of the short screws. One goes by the club here. The other one goes by the N into the moon. And just a regular number 1 Phillips. This is a number 2, but a number 1 Phillips would be better. And you can just tighten these right up. Remember, this is plastic on plastic, so don't go too snug. Just snug enough where nobody would be able to undo it with their fingers. You don't want to actually bend the plastic at all. If you do end up bending the plastic, here, I'll grab a spare screw to show you a trick. So let's say this is my screw, right? But I've bent the plastic somehow here. This is just a cool little test. So I did it too tight, and I've kind of started to strip it a little bit, like that. Can you see how that's a little messed up now? If you do that, and then you take a torch, heat it up a little, it sort of settles back into where it's supposed to be. It just helps the look of it if you've bent it. I don't know if you've added any strength or anything, but something to keep in mind. One more time I use that torch. Okay, once you get these three snug from the top, we can flip over the puzzle box. Put the last screw in the bottom, which I'm realizing I did in a different color. 1 second. One of these screws. I just changed the color so it matched. I love this color. This is Voxel Lab. It's like a green black. It looks black from some angles and real cool from other angles. I love this color. I've even done a whole puzzle. Watch this. This is cool. These are some of my spare lids. And look, this one's purely that color. And I just love the way it looks. Number 10 and 20 were made out of this color on the side. I'll put a link in the description to this Voxel Lab filament. I think it's freaking cool. Anyway, don't hesitate to get creative with your colors. Not all of them are winners. All right, I'm getting excited because we're almost done. And then we have the hex screw. And if you've put your tool in the door, now is a good time to grab it. And we're gonna get it partly snug. Just like a little bit tight. Just so it's loose in there. Alright, there are a few more pieces in this puzzle box, which I will grab now. Here are the final pieces. We have the stand. This is the Lunar Stand. You have to go to leisureluke.com to get this, but you're gonna want this. This is cool. I don't know why I make you go to the website to get it, but that's what you have to do for now. It's also free and just a download link. This is the Loot 2. This is supposed to look like a meteorite. Then we have Loot 1, which is the top of the loot chest. That's where the loot comes from. It's the loot. That's where you store the loot for the puzzle. And Loot 3, which is the bottom tray. So Loot 3 slides onto Loot 2 like that. You'll be able to figure that out pretty easily. Sort of clips into place like a buckle. Loot 1, line up the L logo with the notch here. That's about where the threads start to engage. And then you just can spin it on from there, and hopefully you won't cross thread it. Let's see. There you go. I do add coconut oil to this as well, because so it doesn't sound so tinny. I'll do that later. You want to be able to have the notch align with this groove from the top without being too tight. So if that means you have to work it a little bit, go past that corner, just so when you have it there, it's a little loose still and this groove is lined up. It's kind of hard to see, but... And then we'll take the top off. I can hear a string in here somewhere that's bothering me. All right, so if you have these pieces ready and the rocket, And I'm not going to show you how to make the rocket because you'll be able to figure it out. But just know one side is tighter, one way is looser. So you'll have the option of making it tight or loose. These are the fins and the rocket tip. And this is the launch brake, which goes next to the rocket ship on the side here. It slides on only one way, and it'll drop down. So if you've got these pieces, the tool, the rocket, the key, of course, the key, the rocket, the tool, your looped chest, and the stand, you're done. You're in good shape. You are ready for the reset, which will show you how to set it up for the next person. Because right now it's in its solved state. So if you've solved it, this is what you have. And there will be a separate video that shows how to reset it. I also have PDF reset instructions at leisureluke.com. So great work. I will show you how to reset it real quick. And the next person can figure out how to break in. Set it on a stand and you are good to go. Thank you for watching. Enjoy. Good luck with the solve. Let me know how it goes. Comment any comments or questions you have in the description. Check out leisureluke.com where there's more information. And I will see you in the next video. Good night. Good night.